Okay, here we are recording. This is a strange situation. I haven't been doing this for a while. Usually I was streaming or doing videos on YouTube. And I understand that the time might be not convenient for many of you. So I am in strange situation that no one has joined this this live presentation or discussion. But that's not a big issue. I am used to speak to myself. Maybe someone will be joining in time. But anyway, I will be recording this session, and the session later on will be put into or stored in private YouTube link. So this video will be not for general public. By checking or joining the call, please understand that you might be recorded, but it's only accessible to the members of Patreon. But as it might, the data might be quite big, the file might be big, it will be stored in private YouTube video and accessible only through private link that I will share with patrons. Um, I wonder how this will work in the future, whether the time is right. Maybe we can do it a little bit later or so. But anyway, it is how it is. Yeah. I plan to do this bi weekly. Every second week, I will come up with another topic. And if we will be lucky to meet each other, of course, you can even later on ask me questions, but the format will be very familiar or similar to what we did on YouTube. Reason why I'm doing through Patreon is that this is not, as also as the videos will be not shared on YouTube and will be not monetized. We can discuss topics that are maybe not that censored. Yeah, this Patreon format is hidden in paywall, but also the Patreon is for 18 plus, so for the adults. Yeah, everyone here that joins my Patreon also has to be adult, and that's, I think it's at the beginning of the conditions of Patreon. I wanted to have a little bit more creative freedom on things and topics that I discuss. I don't want to say that I will be discussing something inappropriate, but for some audience, it might be inappropriate. Let's switch to the topic. Uh, I was first planning to speak about the topics of Eros or Dark Eros on my YouTube channel. But as I realized that it might be a little bit sensitive, this is the beginning of our series where I can speak freely. So, what is Dark Eros and why I would like to start with a topic like this? Um, there is, of course, a question of myth. Yeah, in magic, we believe that some kind of energies or practically all these spiritual movement is an energy. Energy is in practically in everywhere. Yeah, if we do some kind of magical ritual or something, we are working with energy, energy of our body, energy of the environment around us. There are so many techniques. You can work with nature, and usually magic was always related to nature. And one part of nature is, of course, procreation. So a magician would say that this is something like primordial force. Yeah, eros is an erotic force is prevalent in majority of magical traditions. A lot of rituals practice is driven, powered by sexuality and by power of eros. Uh, when I was in my youthful times, and when I started with magic, I was in the time thinking, okay, maybe I can provide some kind of services. I'm not doing that anymore. More, more teaching, and a lot of people came to me, could you please make me some magical potion that if someone will be drinking that, the lover will love me or something. A lot of questions come from this area: how to bring lover to me, how to split a relationship because I want to be with that person instead of that rival, instead of that other one. So I was surprised how much importance is put into this. Eros is driving magic all the time. The second thing, of course, a very popular one is treasure magic, looking for money and how to be. But people want to have money also, maybe to fulfill their needs. So Eros is definitely the first. Yeah. Uh, Interestingly, I realized that people are maybe not that bad as I thought. I thought first that I was like misanthropic. I thought that people will be now asking about curses, how to make damage to someone because I hate that boss of mine. I hate that person, but that's not that prevalent. Mostly magical rituals and things to ask for love. That was very frequently asked, uh, but I was not able to deliver on that. Yeah, because Eros is a very powerful force, and if you want to be successful in doing this type of magic, some call it red magic or something, you have to be in control of Eros, and that's not that easy. I was living in difficult situations, complicated relationships, things like that. So I was always more leaning towards different types of magic, and I even thought that, it's not working for me. Better find someone else for the thing. But later I realized that as a magician, when you are understanding control, when you are working with the unbalancing yourself as a person, you have to be able to understand and to work with your sexuality, erotic drive, because that's powering ourselves. So it's practically primordial force that you are working with, and if it's becoming somehow disbalance in any way, you might have a lot of emotional pain or something, you will be suffering as a magician. Some people might end up later on in ego traps, things like that. So later on, when I started to work with this primordial force, a lot of things opened to me. So Eros, as such, was always prevalent in so many cultures. Yeah, so Eros, coming from Greek, was a child of Aphrodite, yeah, a primordial force. Eros couldn't be controlled. He came, and you could either just maybe feel him, but he was in very much commanding, yeah, the primordial force of wanting others, pleasure, things like that. But that is mostly for the people that are of secular mind. They think, okay, eros, it's just eroticity or sexuality. But eros is also very close to another word, very much used by in Christian cultures, agape, love. Yeah, that that comes from Plato. Plato, as a philosopher, was saying that eros is a daimon, not demon, but daimon, the Greek one. So it's a guide. It's a advisor to humanity, and eros as a daimon was guiding souls of people to move upward to the higher spheres of life, to from Neoplatonic perspective, to become better yourself, to reach the heavenly spheres, to climb the Jacob's ladder. Eros was a primordial force that would elevate human soul to love others, to love ourselves, and to be in connection with the life around us. Yeah, this is something that is still working and prevalent in modern works. Yeah, but if I should quote, for example, Plato's Symposium, is read it if you haven't. It's quite good book. In Symposium, Plato says, "He who loves rightly is led from the love of one fair form to the love of all beauty." It's beautiful. Yeah, but the message is practically taken later on in modern psychology. Yeah, we Freud, for example, understands eros as a life driving force. Everything is about sexuality, eros, and you have this also in other cultures. Yeah, we can say uh, whether it's the energy of the chakras, or it's driven practically through this primal force, to good and to bad, because eros is not can be uh, tamed. Yeah, but might be perceived differently. People that have their, Freud would say that people that haven't got their libido right, yeah, they then they are imbalanced. Yeah, Freud was possessed by sexuality. He said that everything is about sexuality, and modern psychology says something different. But at least some trends of modern psychology. But he was, I think, right in a way that you have to get in. You have to get these type of things right. If we are living or coming from different relationships, there might be family issues, things like that, and that is affecting our sexuality. Modern time, of course, it's an epidemic. Yeah, you have a lot of people that are living alone without their loved ones. They are, I think, mostly the younger generation now. I have read recently the article that I think 50 or 60% of young men between 20 to 30 are living alone, singles, things like that. It creates a lot of tension. It creates a lot of internal pain. Uh, People are unsure about their sexuality, uh, and I am not saying that it must be only heterosexual. Yeah, no, nothing like that. But people are having problems also later on to show their sexuality. Their sexual life is somehow insufficient. We have a lot of people that are addicted to pornography, and all of this is practically the use of uh, its fixation on illusions, on things that we somehow are not able uh, to process. A lot of that is caused also by the upbringing, by religions, yeah, by very strong moral codes of behavior, uh, especially in Christianity and society. Yeah, everything is regulated. Yeah, everything must serve the social norm. Yeah, and sexuality, as Freud would say, and libido is repressed. Yeah. But there are so many uh, approaches how to work with eros. Yeah, eros, from a magician perspective, is driving a lot of is a driving force of magical rituals. Yeah. So there was a magician that was specializing in red magic or sexuality magic or development of eros, and he tried to use the sexuality and sexual energy to spiritually ascend, to become a more balanced, loved being. Yeah, I have to say that Western magic is, at least now, is considered a little bit behind the tantric techniques and things that are developed mostly in Eastern occult and spiritual paths. Maybe it's because that we really lived in very much suppressed society through Christianity and other religions. Yeah, we had in Europe a lot, and I'm not judging, but we have a lot of Protestantism, things like that, things that were the reason was to control sexuality, so the society is more productive and focused. That loss of libido into other things like work more, pray more. Yeah, still, why in modern corporations you have practically taboo of dating a colleague of yours because the company wants you to focus on productivity. Yeah, so uh, there was a magician from the early 19th century that focused on eros as a form to spiritually ascend. And his name was Paschal Beverly Randolph. Paschal Beverly Randolph was a fascinating figure, and by many, unfortunately, modern practitioners of magic, he is almost forgotten, which is a very bad thing. Yeah, because uh, those that were influenced by his teachings were Rosicrucians, Aleister Crowley, Tilema, yeah, a lot of modern occult orders were inspired by the teachings of Paschal Beverly Randolph. Sorry for my voice. Paschal Beverly Randolph was born in 1825, and his life was not that long, or could have been longer. He died in 1875, and he was born in New York. So we are speaking about American occultist that was a cornerstone of American occultism. So with Paschal Beverly Randolph, we can see that there is this switch, this movement from old European traditions, Martinistic societies, Freemason societies, and so on. And Paschal Beverly Randolph was one of the first major American occultists of the first half of the 19th century. He worked as a barber and a medical apprentice, and he was very much influenced by, in that time, spiritualism. Yeah, he was fascinated by mesmerism, which is the art of hypnosis. Yeah, he was fascinated by spirituality, calling the spirits, the ghosts, theosophic societies, very, very popular at the time, and also full of course, charlatanism. Yeah, but Paschal Beverly Randolph was living in very difficult situation because in the first half of the 19th century, of course, you had a lot of racial segregation, and He's we think that he was his father was and now apologies for the right correct word. I think he was Afro American. Yeah, so his father was uh, Afro American, and his mother was a Native American. So you can imagine that combination was at that very conservative cycles considered that there was a lot of racism towards him, even with his colleagues, because at that time occultism was an art, or spiritualism was a hobby. Spiritualism was mostly a hobby of the rich, or at least of the upper middle classes, of people of money, or and his upbringings were practically, he was not taken seriously. Yeah, and he was meeting with a lot of racial prejudice. Uh, and that's why he decided in his early 20s, mid 20s, to travel to other countries. And he traveled to Europe, to Middle East, North Africa, and connected with a lot of local occult traditions. And what formed him very strongly were mostly interactions with Sufis, mystical Islam. Yeah, and also in his travels in Europe in that time, there was a fashion that the teachings of Brahmanism, Tantra, and so on in France were becoming popular. So he learns a lot about sexual magic, tantric magic, trance, dancing, Sufi, yeah, things like that. And that's his, and he encounters European Rosicrucians. Who were the Rosicrucians? Yeah, so these were mostly occult Freemasons lodges. There is no big secrecy around that. Yeah, in modern magic, a lot of people like say, "Oh, Rosicrucians, they were like Illuminati or something." Freemasonry was quite standard in Europe. You had the French, Scot Rite. It was the groupings of people of middle class up to very rich people, doctors, nobles, artists, that were trying to have some kind of that were a little bit conservative about religious conservatism. So they had these circles, but they were leaning more towards like general discussions about things, business, and so on. And there was still this pull for something more occult, for something more internal, yeah, esoteric. And these were the Rosicrucians, mostly in France. And he meets these people. He's of course aligned with them. He's being treated more positively in Europe. Yeah, because there was not that much of racial prejudice. Yeah, there was not slavery in Europe. So at the time, so he is and he's coming from New York, of course, from northern part of, it was before the Civil War. So he learns a lot, he learns, and he returns back in 1858 to Boston. Yeah, and he starts his own fraternitas, Rosicrucis order, which is the first Rosicrucian fraternity in America. That's the start of the occult Rosicrucian societies. He was the person that started that all. And he starts to publish a lot of works about spiritualism, magnetism, the ability to influence others through the power of Eros. He speaks about the occult science, He touches the taboos of religion. He writes books like Pre-Adamite Men. Yeah, so he says about he practically attacks the narrative of church about the Adam being the first man, but he says, okay, we were living before Christian dogma and so on. And more importantly, he is, as he is quite handsome man, I believe. You can search his photo, but he was very well kept. Always tried to be very nicely dressed at that time as a gentleman. Probably psychologically, he wanted to look as a gentleman, and he was meeting with a lot of prejudice. So, but is meeting, although that he is very popular, the order of the Fraternitas Rosicrucis in America is not that big success. Yeah, because they perceive him like someone coming, learning something in Europe, but they don't want to get into more dealings with him. Yeah, so the societies, theosophical societies, and so on, they use the word nigger. Yeah, that's very uh, that's like it is. Yeah, so they were like, oh, what this nigger wants from us? He's not a magician. Very bad. Yeah, so he's meeting, and he is being ostracized by the society, but he is beloved by women. So he creates a circle of people that are working with spiritual magic, tantra. Imagine the beginning of tantra in America is practically coming from these circles before the Far East techniques come. He's to America. He's doing that, and he has his circle of some say free lovers. Yeah, that's another story. And he starts to, but his teachings are not predatory. Yeah, he believes in universal love. He says that it's possible to find through deep erotic trance. He's a big supporter of erotic trance with mutual interaction between men and women to achieve high levels of transcendence. Yeah, practically through tantric techniques of sexuality. In very generic terms, are made that there is a couple. In that time, it was heterosexual, but we don't know whether he was like also in other genders. But through this interaction without practically sexual coitus without reaching the orgasm for men, or very delayed one, you can by applying specific control methods, you can reach transitic states of higher consciousness. And he develops the whole system of sexual magic, which he calls Eulis. Eulis. It's from it's and the book is called Eulis: The History of Love. And the book was written in 1874, and it's still achievable and obtainable, I think, on Amazon. Maybe later I will post some links for those of you that are interested in this very interesting book. But Eulis, The History of Love, although his major work, is not his most famous one. His most famous one is posthumous. Yeah, it was written after his death, and I will speak about his death soon, by his student, a lady. Yeah, and the book is called the lady was called Maria de Naglowska. Yeah, it's a Polish French name, Maria de Naglowska. And she wrote a book called Magia Sexualis, that contains a lot of his work from the former book Eulis, uh, uh, still attributed to Randolph. Yeah. Um, Later, his after his death, and I will speak about his death, he influenced a lot of occultists. Still today, he inspired mostly French occultists because they were translating his books to French, mostly by Maria de Naglovska, and the books influence such major magical orders that exist until today. Hermetic Brotherhood of Luxor, for example. Now it's a little bit like organization where you have to pay for the books, and they have 33 titles of that, or 33 grades of initiation. And yeah, the first cost, I don't know, €100, and the second cost 200, and the 10th cost 10,000. You can imagine how it works, but it's not that. It's a little bit pyramid, but the Hermetic Brotherhood of Luxor, we can say it exists for practically more than 100 years, so it's still esoteric. If someone is a member of it, please, I apologize. Yeah, that's just my own opinion on the on Hermetic orders of today. But if you find it differently, I didn't want it to, yeah, annoy you, or yeah, but I think that his the teachings of Hermetic Brotherhood of Luxor are much inspired by Paschal Beverly Randolph and their sexual magic and his sexual magic. But not only Hermetic Brotherhood of Luxor, but he was a spiritual teacher or guru, although maybe Aleister Crowley would not say so, but I think in some of his lists he's speaking highly of Paschal Beverly Randolph, and he considers him his slightly spiritual mentor. Yeah, but we know how it was with Crowley. He developed it, everything by himself. Yeah. But Randolph was. He definitely read the books of Randolph, and a lot of techniques of Magia Sexualis or Eulis can be found in initiations of Ordo Templi Orientis, which is a Hermetic order that was practically co-created by Aleister Crowley. Yeah. So, what is practically Randolph trying to achieve? Yeah, in his workings. Yeah. What interests me about it is that he considers Eros and magical working with Eros as a form of spiritual prayer. Yeah, so a lot of tantric techniques, and he's practically praying to his own sexual power, and he calls it the highest prayer. That the highest prayer to the highest primordial force of life is a prayer to your own sexuality. Uh, he, however, has a very moral concept to the way how love and sexuality should be perceived. Although he had a lot of women in his life, he praises love and fidelity. That's interesting. Yeah, he says that for true love, you have to have fidelity. You have to have a partner that with whom you can have very high spiritual connection, and the sexual right, the crescendo of the sexual right, that opens the gate to these divine forces, is mutual climax. Quite hard to achieve, by the way, in current society. Imagine that a huge amount of selfishness. People are either not able to pleasure, or they are only thinking about their own pleasure, and it's easier said than done. He develops these techniques where we should be listening to others. We should be feeling their bodies, connect with their souls, and mutually, as a serpent that is raising up, we tantrically open the gate to higher ascent. By higher ascent, he means a higher state of consciousness. Yeah. Uh, we can say that Eros, or this magical sexual force, in Randolph's understanding, is redemptive through love, through sexuality. We are redeemed of our own shadow, of our own problems, of our negativity. So maybe the sayings in the 60s, like make love no war, I don't know, but definitely might be Randolph's inspired. Yeah. Sexuality is, however, sacramental. Yeah, it's this communication is a ritual. Yeah. Maybe even moralized. Yeah, he says that we should focus on the love of each other. The form of this ritual shouldn't be predatory, shouldn't be selfish. Yeah. So it's all rose and flowers. I wouldn't say so, because with Randolph we have. Randolph becomes also a prey to his own emotions later on. Uh, and it brings me to the moment of his death. Uh, if we consider he was born in 1825 and he died 1875, it gives him 50 years of life. Randolph was found with a bullet in his head, and it's expected that the bullet was self-inflicted. We think Randolph committed suicide, uh, which is very unusual. There was probably no murder. Yeah, we know that he was having a weapon in his hand and so on. But we found him in a moment of magical ritual, because on the floor there was some kind of map target, like if he was doing some kind of magical ritual. And the ritual is called practically magical bullet. Yeah, you want to consecrate the magical bullet to hit the target. The target might be a figurine, might be a painting, and you are shooting the target. You fuel the bullet with curses, things like that, and you try to shoot the target with the weapon. Yeah, before you do a lot of incantation and so on. So practically, Randolph is providing or doing a curse. Why would such person that is speaking about morality, love, and things like that do such a very hardcore curse, and on whom? And we do have, we can maybe find the answer in memoirs of another practitioner that was living in the time, and they hated each other a lot. And that other person that writes in his memoirs that Randolph tried to kill me by magic ritual is Madame Blavatsky. Madame Blavatsky was a very famous, probably you have heard the name, yeah. Madame Blavatsky was a very famous theosophical practitioner, very powerful, I would say, at the time. That was, she was able to see spirits, things like that, highly saw auras, was working a lot in magic. And in that time, she was, at the time of Randolph's death, uh, she was in India, in Delhi, and I now she was speaking to her to her close circle because it was very popular. A lot of British and people were going to India at that time, and drinking tea and doing spiritual sessions. I'm not generalizing, but really, she was coming relatively from good wealth. Randolph was poor, yeah, but Madame Blavatsky was living quite well. And there is a moment in her memoirs when she's writing. Her students are writing, and then there was a moment when Madame Blavatsky like touches her heart, and she almost falls down, and she like her eyes goes like white, the irises and so on, and she was saying like, "He's trying to kill me. He's shooting at me. He's shooting at me, the nigger." That's what she said. Yeah, so you can see how she perceived Randall. Yeah, and then she wakes up. They put water on her. She's pale white, and she says, "He tried to kill me, but he's dead." And we believe that Randolph was trying to attack Madame Blavatsky, but her protections definitely were probably strong. A lot of other spirits, things like that. And Randolph gets immediate backlash. That's usually magical backlash is that when you send some kind of negative energy and it hits the protective other spirits that you might have for your protection or things like that. They were in magical war together. They tried to curse each other for a long time before. So Madame Blavatsky was probably prepared. Randolph was drinking before that. They found a lot of stuff. So he became angry, wanted to do the magical ritual. Somehow it turned badly. The negative energy is reflected, affects his mind. He shoots himself. Yeah, so he tries to kill her. Instead of that, he turns the gun, shoots himself, dies. Yeah. In a magical ritual, sometimes these effects can be devastating. Yeah, you are working with very deep psychological, primordial moments. So, good thing is, or the lessons from this is, don't do rituals, especially if you are angry or something, because the spiritual the backlash can kill you. Yeah, even the master magician like Randolph. So we will not know more, but if you read his books, you will see that his understanding or his pain being neglected, always being laughed on by other practitioners, brings that love is important, find it. But at the end, he becomes prey of hatred, maybe his own, his feelings against Blavatsky, who was destroying his work and saying about him that he is a charlatan and so on. It caused him a lot of financial pressures. Yeah, his books are beautifully written. Yeah, so if he's somewhere around, I hope that you will enjoy his books as he wanted us to enjoy. What might be the a missing mosaic or point here is that he shows Eros as something elevating, something good, something beautiful. This Venusian, this positivity in Eros. But I don't want to speak only about that. I want to speak also about it because every light side has an opposite, and we are driven not only by the positivity. If you push too much of these positive feelings, the shadow is never sleeping. The shadow was there with Randolph as well, and then he died. So you can't forget about the shadow in us, the need for darker fulfillment. Sometimes people are searching depravity. Sometimes people are fascinated by extreme forms of love, fetishism, BDSM, things like that. These are deep psychological circuits in minds, sometimes repressed, sometimes not, sometimes openly felt, sometimes that just touched with. The dark eros is in us, the predatory sexuality, the need to be a sadist, the need to be treated badly in a form of masochism, fetishism as such, in many forms, easier. These type of things exist. And yes, if you are unbalanced, the shadow takes over and we become subjects to, uh, as a magicians, we might become addicted to pornography, to extreme pornography, even worse things, yeah, can happen that can be punished by law justifiably, yeah. Maniacs, yeah, sadists. Yeah, that's the form of eros that is not controlled, that is beyond the gates, but it's there. As a magician, we have to understand that the abyss exists, and if you are looking only for the good side, no, I don't want to touch other feelings. Yeah, I am in sexual relationship and I am not happy about the way we do sex, but I'm afraid that I will harm the other person, saying to the person that I want it differently or change positions or whatever or slap me or you know what I mean. It creates this tension and the tension gets to the worst things. And there is another person that was saying you are just all having it wrong. Eros and sexuality is not about love, says he, but it's about the fulfillment of my darkest fantasies, and that's what we are. We are not moral persons. We are here to fulfill our uh, uh, our needs, our expectations. Yeah, the, that there is a law of passion. That the passion is the only law that exists. So that's something on another side, yeah, the person is not an occultist, but is definitely touched by darker abyss of sexuality, by this dark eros primordial current. And of course, we know him. Everyone knows him. Maybe not that. And it's Marquis de Sade, the historical person. Sadism comes from his name. Yeah. So very briefly speaking about Marquis de Sade. Marquis de Sade lived uh, between 1740 and 1814. So uh, he died 6 years before Paschal Beverly Randolph was born. Some of us might even think like maybe it's coincidence. No, that the Marquis de Sade, the dark person, dies, and then he's reborn in Pascal Beverly Randolph, the good guy, the person that gets in control of his own sexual desires. But I don't think so. They were so different. Yeah, but it would be nice irony that these two persons are actually the one. But who was Marquis de Sade? He was a French. He was born in Paris to aristocratic family. He was a military officer in his late 20s, 30s, early 30s, and he lived his life like it was the only life in the world. He was libertine, a lot of scandals, drinking, sexuality, uh, repeatedly imprisoned for many crimes that were going on. Yeah. Uh, I think we have David here. David, I am recording this session and I am already recorded maybe 45 minutes of this. So I'm just going to continue and welcome. Yeah. So later on, when you will get to it, I will post this on a secretive YouTube link. No one else will have access, only those that are watching this, so you can see, but it will be not publicly shown. So I will just continue with my monologue here. Yeah. So Where was I? I was speaking about Marquis de Sade. Yeah, so he was a military officer living in his late 20s, 30s, and he was living total libertine life. As I said, he was imprisoned for fights, for drinking, for sexually related crimes. He was imprisoned for sodomy. Sodomy was considered punishable. Homosexual acts in 18th century considered punishable. Still, they are in some countries like Middle East and so on. But not only for that, libertinage, meaning group orgies, things like that, accusations of abuse. He lived. He was meeting with courtesans, prostitutes, but he was beating them, and they become, of course. But as he was an aristocrat and a military officer, it was put under the carpet. But he was also a prolific writer. Yeah, he was. What is very interesting, uh, living in a time of the French Revolution, and French Revolution started in 1789, but in 1785 he is already imprisoned for a very provocative and shocking book that is called the 120 Days of Sodom. Yeah. Sorry, that was another one. I'm going too fast. First, he published several books uh, where he and manuscripts about uncontrolled sexuality and things like that, and he is put into Bastille for these problems, also with the girls that he has beaten, and he is still writing. But they took him the ability to write. He's not able to publish, but he's secretly writing again, and he started to write his master book in Bastille. That was the stronghold, which is later on, in 4 years later, is attacked by the crowds in Paris, and the French Revolution starts. So the moment when French Revolution starts, Marquis de Sade is looking at the people on the square and is screaming like the revolution, like kill the, yeah, let's kill the aristocrats, and he's the aristocrat by the way. So he's a very wild person, and in that room, he writes his most disturbing book that is called the 120 Days of Sodom. And I will explain what it is about. Yeah, but this is a literature that is practically the perfect example of the Dark Eros, of primordial sexuality that is uncontrolled, dark, predatory, sadistic, and reading that book is quite an effort. Yeah, you are really reaching something dark. So although Marquis de Sade is not occultist as such, he's definitely connected with the dark Venusian current. The book is interestingly found at the beginning of the 20th century, 1920s, in the wall, because he hid it in the wall, and they found it later. So it was translated just practically 100 years after his death. I will speak later on about the book. As the revolution goes, he is released from Bastille because Bastille is destroyed by the crowds and so on, and he is released, and he starts to do the escapades again. Yeah, he writes again. He writes books like Justine or The Misfortunes of Virtue. Even the names are implying what it is. Justine is a story of of a young woman, a prostitute that is coming from the poor environment, and she is being sold, mistreated by every dear person in her life until her tragical death. First, who is mistreating her bad are her parents, her father, who is molesting the girl, and he's selling her for few francs to a monastery where she is misused by the monks. The monks sell her to the uh, I have no other words for that. It's a whorehouse, yeah. And the book is very graphic about what Justine goes through in technicalities, techniques, all type of perverse undertakings with the clients. Yeah. So the book is the thing is that it ends, of course, tragically for her. And what is interesting is that it's not only cheap way of some kind of like fantasy, but it is full of philosophy, where those that are misusing this young girl, maybe 14, 15 years old at the time, yeah, are explaining the reasons why they are doing so. And through that, Marquis de Sade is explaining his philosophy that everything is about passion, fulfillment of passion, no matter of the requests or needs of others. So it's it's total opposite of Paschal Beverly Randolph that I have spoken about before. This will be recorded, so we will find it for the first time. Yeah, and they tell the Justine that why shouldn't I do that if I can? So we feel here the psychology of dark, predatory ways, the form how they are uh, practically molesting and using her is sometimes magical. Yeah, they are using a lot of things on her and so on, and prefer uh, uh, practically they feel enlivened by this. They say, "Oh, you are so young, so I'm going to take the energy of yours because you are young. But when I finish with you, you will be not that young anymore. You are privileged to take me." A lot of things. Yeah. So this is the predatory, the dark. The book is so popular by, of course, it's forbidden. Yeah, but because it's shocking, but sells very well. It sells very well because, as I say, the dark sexuality is something imprinted in human psyche. It's the repressed shadow. Yeah, so it's the extremity, of course, but it fascinates people. Yeah, so maybe 20 or 23 reprints are done between maybe 10 or maybe a few years. Yeah, and he continues, of course. Yeah, he produces more books. Yeah, he produces Misfortunes of Virtue, then his philosophical philosophy in the bedroom. Yeah, these are more like the moments where philosophy in the bedroom is also interesting. It's a story of a priest that is going to give like the last forever to the aristocrat, and the aristocrat is denying that. He says, I don't want to have any last forever. I don't want to be in peace with Jesus and God Almighty because I have lived my life to the fullest. And the priest is saying, what are you saying? This is blasphemy. And they start to, it's like this Socratian Platonian discussion between the heretic and pervert and the priest. Yeah, and the pervert practically on his deathbed is telling him, I have always fulfilled what I wanted. I have met the maximum of pleasure, the maximum of power. What about the soul? Says the priest. I have never seen a soul, but I have seen what I could see. Yeah, and the memories are so fulfilling for me. Are you not ashamed of your transgressions? No, I am proud of them. And then the dead man is practically telling him, and what about you? You are repressed, repression of the of Eros. Yeah? You are repressed. Tell me, you must be masturbating, right? You are a priest, but you must do it. How can you make I am with my God? I try to believe him. Yes, but the feeling, the pain, it's just, is still with you. No, it's the Satan speaking through. Don't be ridiculous. Nothing like that exists. It's only our passion. Passion as law. Law. You see the Crowleyan moment there. Yeah, that he says like, "Do what you will shall be the whole law." The passion is the law, says Marquis de Sade. Yeah, and the ends up, of course, with the winning of the dying man. The priest starts to cry, and he realizes, "Oh, I was living in error. After, let's have wine and drink." And he says, and the dead man says him, "Yes, before I die, we have to call several concubines and prostitutes. So I die with the girl on my nap, and then you continue my work." Yeah, so imagine writing this in 1790s. The thing is that the revolution is in full run. Yeah, the Robespierre. There is this age of guillotine. Yeah, guillotine. They are cutting the heads of people in the meantime, and he's writing this type of things. Churches are burning. Yeah, they change the calendar in French Revolution. They will have no January, February, but they have the first day of the revolution, first week of the revolution, and that it's like end times. He is enjoying his life. Yeah, he's saying now it's the time of the end. Now we are living up to our fullest potential. Enjoy, and but he's not saying live with like Paschal Beverly Randolph, that we have to find the internal the higher self through love in tantric sexual ritual with our equal. No, he's saying be predatory, do the things as you want, only as you want. Yeah, don't care about others. So it's totally this dark thing. And they, of course, even at that time, they accuse him of course, dangerous writings, chaos, and so on. By the way, if we would be writing something like this today, I believe in many societies and countries there might be repercussions, because he is practically inviting people to do sadistic things. Yeah. So I will be speaking about the 120 Days of Sodom later, because that was still in the wall. Yeah, but these books are widely circulated, and they bring him again to the court for doing like for shocking the public. They say, and he says, "But I stand by it. You should be doing the same thing as I do." So they put him into the asylum for the insane. Yeah, the asylum is called Charenton, and he starts to be so visual and speaking with the patients. Yeah, they took him the right to write, but he starts to create a play, a theatrical play in Charenton, where all of the insanes or the mentally hindered people plays their role. The problem is that he creates a sceneries between the women and men. It's not like pornography, but he really implies a lot of these things, and he's like a architect of the theater and insanity, and these people are playing these roles. And he said, for example, to the actor, like, "You should be brutal," and the people that are has these mental issues, they start take it seriously. So there is a big upheaval on that theater play, and they have to restrain the patients. Can you imagine the insanity that is getting there? First, they thought that it will be just like normal theater for the people, and he created this crazy the crazy play. So they put him into the jacket, and they close him in this closed chamber where he dies. He can't live through being alone, secluded, and so on. And he calls everyone that you are just. At the end, he's saying practically that my books are maybe considered real, or maybe they just show you something that you are afraid to see. I am not a patient. I am not an evil man. I just show you who you are. So Marquis de Sade is showing the the darkness of our psyche, and the darkness, erotical eros, is many times fueling a lot of rituals until today. So he was not an occultist, but his works can be very stimulating in, I don't say in replication, of course, but in illumination of feeling the dark eros in us. After his death, they found the book, the papers from 120 Days of Sodom. It was found, I think, in 1923 when they were renovating Bastille again for a new prison. Yeah, so society is always repressing. Yeah, so they created this again, and they found it. And the time is different. And first they want to archive it, but of course the book is shown to the public, reprinted again, and becomes the biggest bestseller of Marquis de Sade posthumously. Even the movie was created of it, but I warn you, the movie is an Italian movie from 1984. I believe it created such shock in in relatively liberal 80s times that they wanted to kill the director. The director got death threats like that the movie is such, according to them, devastating to the society, showing the total depravity of and idolizing the depravity of some people, that he had regular death threats. I think not only death threats, he there was even uh, assassination attempt on the director. I think he survived. Yeah, I will put this into the.
He was killed. He
I'm
was
sorry.
actually he was killed. It was his last film, I think.
Oh, he was, I think, even killed
Hello.
by that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's telling.
Pasolini.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Have you seen the movie?
I have, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So
It's very very interesting on multiple levels. He places the action of the original 100 Days of Sodom during the puppet state of Paschal
yeah.
Beverly in
Yeah. Yeah.
Salo. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
very interesting.
That was the only way how they probably how the director tried to. Pasolini, yeah, how he tried to practically maybe excuse himself of propagating 120 Days of Sodom, that he put it into the perspective of fascist Mussolini's regime, and still, yeah, it cost. I have seen the movie. The movie is disturbing, of course, and for those that haven't seen it and plan to see it, I have to say it's very disturbing. Yeah, so it's not pleasant to watch. Yeah, the story goes in that way, and it's more psychological than like gruesome. There are moments that are shown there like very brutal, but it's more psychological horror. yeah, of alienation or of the sadism. But the book is practically describing 120 days on a castle somewhere in Switzerland. Have you read the book, by the way?
Not in its entirety. I
Yeah,
have read through it, but
yeah,
no, I
yeah,
should pick it up.
yeah. You
It's
don't have to.
embarrassing to
It's
see
a, yeah,
the
yeah,
film, not the book.
yeah. Mhm.
But I remember, like, for instance, some acts described in the book are clearly fictional,
Oh
because I
yeah.
remember a passage where he says, Noble impregnates an animal, then he rapes the product, then it kills it.
Oh
That's,
yeah,
I don't know, biologically impossible, I
yeah,
guess. So
yeah.
some acts are clearly
Yeah,
fictional, I think.
yeah. That's maybe also how we should perceive Sade, that his visions, even by modern literal critics, is that we shouldn't take him, and he was maybe not meaning this figuratively. Yeah, he was not.
Yeah, I think so.
He tried to shock society.
Mhm.
He tried to open the gate to this mindset of us, to deblock us from the. He hated this puritanism, so by the visual descriptions of even unimaginable and maybe not possible physical acts, he really just wants to shock. That's why he calls himself a philosopher. So at the end, yeah, he said he created this book, 120 days. Some depraved noble judge, priest, they decide they are too tired with life. They want something special. They are not fulfilled by regular sexual encounters and anything. They decide that they will go to the castle of one of their of, I think it's five of them, and they one of them has the castle somewhere in Swiss mountains, and they say that we will now enjoy our lives for 120 days with the company of young women, young boys, and they also take with them like this old experienced courtesan prostitute. And she's trying to find somewhere in Paris all of these children, practically, that's like that, or very young adults, 13, 12. Yeah, so that's a book. And they bring them to this castle, and these 120 days are meant like that the punishment, the depravity goes day by day, more and more and more. So they like go, and first they eat, yeah, they give a lot of food to the depraved, food depraved children unhappy. Then starts this light sexual encounters with them, without them, so on, until very brutal ways of even unimaginable, because it's even physically not possible, bestiality, all kind of sexual fetishism, so on, up to mutilation, killings, and then they kill also the concubine. Yeah, so sorry for the spoilers, but it has that. It's shocking. Yeah, so by probably that book was written in his darkest moments, in the in the Bastille cellar, yeah, where he really hated the society construct so much that he wanted to destroy society by this we can today say viral message. Yeah, that modern psychologists or students of psychology and sexuality read sometimes Justine or 120 Days as a encyclopedia of sexual deviations and things like that. If we call them deviations, they have some of them. Yeah, maybe that's not right word. I'm not the psychologist by by my work, but or these specifics of things are described there. Not all, but he was really knowledgeable about a lot of things. Some of those are clearly created just by him. Yeah, so just to shock. Yeah. what it has with I would say with magic, yeah, or how can we compare Paschal Beverly Randolph with Marquis de Sade at the end? Again, for those of you that have joined, know that there will be first part where I discuss Paschal Beverly Randolph, and I'm trying to like cohesively compare to one occultist and one prolific writer about shocking texts together. So Randolph, as a magician and as a Rosicrucian occultist, understands sexuality as a sacrament. Love and mutual orgasm will unite the body and spirit. So there is an effect of healing and spiritual ascent. Tantric techniques, mutual orgasm can, in a way, unblock us to become more fulfilled beings. Yeah. So for Pascal Beverly Randolph, these esoteric techniques in Magia Sexualis or Eulis, I'm describing these books before, can reach to that's a positive work with eros, with sexual energy, and in rituals everywhere. In basic rituals, sometimes they might be two operators, yeah, so or and that multiplies the effect of the ritual. Yeah, you might to want magnetize sigil with sexual copulation, yeah, or your own some way of stimulation. So Randolph is describing sexual techniques for elevation of spirit, we can say, compared to the Sade, who is also trying to unblock us, but to what? Yeah, he is working like in these Jung terms. He is working with this shadow, with this block. Yeah, he's working with the demon. Yeah, he's working with the with eros as a primordial sexual force. I'm discussing eros at the beginning as well. Uh, for him, eros represents nature law. Yeah, but eros as a sexual energy is unbounded. It's amoral force. Yeah, virtue is an illusion. So passion is sovereign. Transgression, we should transgress, is the truth. So uh, it's opposite of the same coin. But how it ends? Yeah, Randolph's L ends with a suicide when he is not able to somehow mm, handle the negativity of energy of eros. Yeah, he lost his ability to he's getting so many, he's neglected, people are speaking about him these negative things and so on, and he decides to act to create a curse, to curse Madame Blavatsky. He fails in a moment, shoots himself. Yeah, it's something that, although that he's speaking about eros and to release him to become a better being, at the end he fails because he is not able to control the shadow in him. Sad, on another way, is ending in asylum, totally alienated, totally misunderstood, hating society, hating that they can't accept the totality of shadow that is full of him. There is no mercy in him. There is no. He hates it. He despises all of these things. We can say that it's not just a pose, because he ended up in prison before for violent acts against people. Yeah, so that's another thing. This alienation, this anger, that's also a person that is not able to handle the power of eros. So as a magician, it's very difficult to say we should be in the middle, because that's not going to help us. We have to be Eros at the beginning, as I said, can't be controlled. It's a driving force. It's one of the primordial forces. We can only live with it. We can feel it, accept it, but don't be pulled in one way or another. One way, Randall's way, is practically mm, mm, is repressed. It's repression. He's repressing his libido, his negativity, his anger, and everything. Sad is being consumed by his libido. So a magician should be walking on that very thin thread, sometimes doing a ritual that might be shocking to others, but maybe not devastating to your own psyche. Yeah. Um, mm, I would maybe end up with citing Plato and Plato's Symposium, where Plato describes Eros as a primordial force of elevation of the soul. And he says that Eros is not just lust, like maybe Sade is perceiving it. Eros is not just lust, but a diamond that can guide the soul from physical beauty to intellectual love and then to contemplation of the divine. So, without again sounding too flowery and just rosy, we can say that the sexual tension and uh, se- uh, doing rites of sexual magic can bring different states of mind and different moments that can unblock us. Yeah, but it must be done in a mm, uh, not moderated way, but you can't get pulled by this primordial force. For that, I would recommend you to maybe read both things. Let's you can dive into Paschal Beverly Randolph's teachings of his Eulis and Magia Sexualis, and then maybe if 120 Days of Sodom is too much, uh, maybe you can read or watch a movie by the Quill of Marquis de Sade. That's nicer movie. Have you seen that, by the way? That's a nice movie.
Sorry, which movie did you say?
By
The
the
Quill?
Quill of Marquis de Sade.
Ah,
It's like this pen that
the
is.
Quill. I think I have. It's the biographical film that shows his end, right? And the scene in the asylum. I may
Yes,
have.
exactly. It's beautifully done, and it avoids the. It's still a very good movie, I think. Like I think from the 90s, and it shows him in a little bit. I think in the right way. Like if Sad would see it, probably he would like it. Yeah, because it does not show him as a monster. uh, People perceive him as a monster, but he is not, and he's just laughing and enjoying the fact that people are so afraid of him. And the moment where this priest is trying to treat him and to heal him, it reminds me of this Sade's book, practically philosophy from the boudoir, where Sade is writing about the priest and the aristocrat on his deathbed. Yeah, that at the end, even the in the movie, all, even those that try to heal him and so on, become prey to their own shadow. Yeah, so they lose the illusion of this society blocks. But why do I discuss so much about Sade if he was not an occultist? It is that sometimes the works of art or philosophy can unblock us in the magical thinking. Yeah, I think that the way how Sade works is very close to the mindset of the magician. That he tries to see things differently. So is Randolph. Both are misunderstood for different reasons, but that originality of thinking, that thinking beyond the box, yeah, is what is important for magical practice. So that's just my overview of Randolph, Eros, and Sade. And if you have questions, I'm happy to answer. If no questions, I will be updating some links to the books of both Paschal Beverly Randolph and maybe uh, Marquis de Sade. Uh, mm, for magical practitioners, definitely Paschal Beverly Randolph's books are uh, important. If you want to dive deeper into his teachings, I recognize Eulis, that's his first book, compared to Magia Sexualis, that is just later on was written by his student, this Maria de Naglovska. And I think Naglovska is not understanding Randolph's purity, or this initial message that uh, sexuality does not have to be, can lead to higher moments of spirituality and mind, but it does not need to be pure. Naglovska is putting a lot of moralism into it. She says, "Oh, we have to be pure. We have to do it in a way that is not." She's too much, I would say, controlled by social norms, because she lives 1870, 1860, and it becomes a little bit, again, that is a lot of moralism in the Magia Sexualis. But in Eulis, in the original book of Randolph, you will find his teachings that are influenced by Islamic Sufis, tantric techniques, and so on during his travels. Yeah, we find a lot of moralism in magical books of 19th century mostly. Yeah, because they were like social filter people living in the time, and especially end of 19th century, 1870, and so Victorian time. Yeah, and I can feel it also in later, in 20s, 30s, especially in the tradition of mine, like Czech Republic and so on. You have authors that, Franz Bardon, for example, a lot of moralism. Otherwise, genius, described a lot of things, but it's always telling you like, "Oh, don't step to the dark side," really like that. So, if you can, the Magia Sexualis by Naglovska is not bad, but you have to mm, put away that moralizing filter. Yeah, if you put away few, and also the thing is that Magia Sexualis is affected by theosophical teachings. Yeah, so maybe Blavatsky won at the end, the magical fight between Randolph and her, and also the teachings of theosophy were quite prevalent at the end and beginning of the on the 20th century. But now it's, I think people are reading more Randolph. At least the occultists are reading more Randolph than Blavatsky. Yeah. So with that, I will be uh, downloading this. It is being already recorded, and I will prepare the link so every one of you can review. And I believe there is, like, those of you, David, Johan, that you have joined, thank you very much for being here. uh, there will be maybe 45 minutes of my monologue before. So you can watch the first part, and I wish you a good day.
Likewise, thank you.
Bye.